We want to convert this equation to standard form. Now, first thing I notice is I have a y squared. So I want the y squared on one side with its other y. We're going to complete that square and we'll add the 5. So I've got that. I'm going to move the x term to the other side, so it'll become a negative 4x. And when I'm adding here, I want to do it to the same side, so to keep this balanced, I'm going to add that number and subtract that number. I'm going to keep this negative 4x right now, equals y minus half of negative 6 is a negative 3 squared, then negative 3 squared is 9. I'm going to add that 9 and subtract that 9. Now this much became my squared term, and so 5 minus 9 will be minus 4. Now I want this to be 1x equals, so what I'm going to have to do is divide by negative 4, and I'm going to divide each term by negative 4. So x will equal negative 1/4, that's my a, times y minus 3, the quantity squared, plus 1. And this would get it in standard form. Next, we're going to do for ellipses. And ellipses can be side-centered at the origin. Okay, so we're talking about this is the origin. The ellipse would be shaped like this. The vertices would be here at A0 and negative A0. The focus at C0 and negative C0. And the endpoints of the minor axis, the short way across, really, is 0B and 0 negative B. If you wanted to draw one of these, you would get the focus points and get a string, tack it to those focus points, and then take your pencil point and put it inside those so you could draw and keep that distance, keep this string the same distance. So any point on the ellipse is the total difference between the two foci and the ellipse. The distance here and the distance here added together keeps the same. Now notice, this is the vertical, this is the horizontal ellipse, x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. Now, the ellipse centered at the origin with vertices. Now, this one means we're going to have a vertical ellipse, going like this. The vertices that are at 0a and 0 negative a, now on the y-axis, the focus are still on the y-axis, and the endpoints of the minor axis are now on the x-axis, x0, b0, and negative b0. Still drawn the same way. Now this is written y squared over a squared plus x squared over b squared equals 1. If, notice, so here, where the a number is essentially bigger, it's going to be a horizontal ellipse. If the number with the y is the bigger one, that makes it the vertical ellipse. But notice both of these fractions equal 1. Here we want to change this equation into standard form. And what we will notice is if you take 9 times 25, you will get 225. You can probably do that fast by thinking of 9 quarters and how much they're worth 225. So I want to make, I've got the 9x squared plus 25 y squared equals 225. If I divide by 25, or 225, divide by 225, divide by 225, and since we know it's 9 times 25, so if I take the 9 out and reduce it, I'll get x squared over 25 plus, here I can take the 25 out and get y squared over 9 equals 1. So this is an ellipse, picture of that horizontal ellipse. Vertices at 5, 0 and negative 5, 0. The minor axis will be at 0, 3 and 0, negative 3. Now, sometimes we can have that vertical shift. So we've got x minus h the quantity squared and y minus k the quantity squared. That means it's shifted h horizontally and k vertically. H with the x and k with the y. So we've moved it over. Change this to standard form. To get that, we're going to have to complete the squares again. So let's group these together. 4x squared plus 16x, and then the y squared minus 2y, and then we need to move the 1 so it becomes negative 1. Now, the rule for completing the square is it has to be a 1x squared. So we're going to divide these two terms by 4. And we're going to have x squared plus 4x plus whatever we're completing the square with. And then these are already just 1s, so we can keep them. We'll complete that square. And of course, on the other side, we're going to have to add the same thing. Well, whatever this number is, we're going to have to take it times 4 because it's times 4 over here. And the other one we can just add on. Well, as we know, half of positive 4 is positive 2. So that will be x plus 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. We'll put that both here and here. Plus, then y, half of negative 2 is negative 1. Square that combination. Negative 1 squared is 1. Add it to the end over here. Now these two are going to cancel out, and we're going to have it equal 16. Well, remember for the ellipse, we really want it equal 1. So we're going to have to divide by 16 to get it equal to the 1. So that will make this x plus 2, the quantity squared, over 4, plus, keep it the y, minus 1, the quantity squared, over 16. And this will equal my 1. So this, notice, my bigger one is here, so this is going to be in a vertical ellipse.